let's talk about generative fill. Just in case you haven't known it yet, Photoshop Beta has been out for a while, and I highly recommend playing with it now before this all comes into the real version. And from what I'm seeing, I'm pretty impressed. And so when I look at this, if you don't have this already installed, definitely go to Beta Apps and install Photoshop Beta. And you'll see why here in a second. So when I go back here, what I did is I just went ahead and created a 10 by 10 inch document at 300. And I just put some text in here called title of story and this color fill. So that way I just don't see something blink in the background like that. And what I want to do is show you how this generative fill and generative expand works based off of the crop tool. So it's very, very nice. And so as graphic designers, we're constantly worried about having the right assets to help tell the story of whatever you're creating. And so in this case, I working with a square advertisement is always kind of strange because I may find an image that looks really great vertically or really great horizontal, but I just didn't have enough information to fit the square, and I didn't quite want to zoom into it. So what I did is I went through my Pexels app, and if you don't have this, I highly recommend you downloading this add-on inside of Photoshop. And I found an image that looks like this, and so I thought it was very intriguing. I thought it'd be kind of nice to have. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and immediately it kind of does it downloads it, and it does a clipping mask to whatever's beneath it. Now, right now, and if I double click on this image, I mean, it's pretty big. So if I go to image size, this has a width of 7.2 inches and a height of 10.8 inches. So height-wise, it's working. Width-wise, not so much. It's not quite where it needs to be, but it looks pretty good. So if I hit, Control T or Command T, I can see that there's extra information up here and there's extra information at the bottom. Now, what I would like to do, because I like the idea of having the moon kind of small, and so I want to scale this down the way I want it to feel, kind of like this. I wanted that moon to just be about like that, or about where it was, about like that big. So now my problem is I have all this extra space out here that I don't have. And so that's where I could use these new tools that Photoshop Beta has in there. And so since this is a smart object, I could just double click on it, and I'm going to go ahead and hit C for crop. And right up here where it says fill, I don't want to fill with the background image or background color. I'm not going to do content to where fill. I want to do generative expand. So that means when I expand this image, now I'm going to hold on Option or Alt if you're on a PC and click and drag on the side. So that way it sizes from the middle. And I'm just going to add a lot of space here. So I'm going to add about that much. I'm going to add extra space on the width. Now, down here at the bottom, now I could just hit the check mark right here, or down here at the bottom, I could tell it to generate. Now, if I just click generate, it's going to look at the image and it's kind of use its cool AI technology, right? I love saying that. And it'll kind of fill in the rest of this, and it'll do a wonderful job. I could also tell it, give it a command to generate something that I think would be beneficial to the story. And so let me just, for now, just go ahead and click generate. It's a pretty large image, so depending on the speed of, I don't know, internet plus computer plus everything, it may take some time for this to go through. And notice while this is kind of happening right there, well, there, it's done. I was going to show you this area of the properties. Is you can see now I have different choices of variations. And so usually from my experience, the first one is working out pretty good. So I can check out the second one and the third one, and I feel like it's an eye test. Number 1, number 2. And I kind of like this one, actually. I'm going for this in one right there. I like that one better. And that's what I'm going to keep. And notice it creates this cool layer on top, and it has this new smancy kind of icon, which is the generative fill icon. And it adds a mask already of where to add this information. And so if I can show and hide that, and you can see the differences between the two. I can always go back and I could tell what I wanted to generate. I could leave that for another video, but let's try something. Add birds. I'm very curious. I'm just going to click on this. Now, the cool thing is, while this is thinking, I still have my old variations that are on there. So I can always click back on them if I didn't like what it was thinking about or what it produced. And really, this is probably the wrong place to say add birds. I'd probably rather just do a selection and do a generative fill on that. Yep, I pretty much figured out that was an incorrect way of doing that, but I got more options here. So I love kind of going back and forth and going, you know what, that was a bad idea, and that's okay. So to let me just go ahead and I can add a layer, or I could do this to say exactly what I was talking about. Let's say I want to add birds right here. So I can now just select an area, click on Generative Fill, and I'm just going to type in seagulls. Is that how you spell seagulls? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Let's see. It's thinking. Again, I love making mistakes. Happy little accidents, right? It's how we learn. So I probably misspelled it, but that's all right. I think it has 2 L's. Hey, there's one. There's another. So it added one. Now notice it didn't add a cool seagull. It added everything. And so, ooh, that looks weird. His face is gone. That's a better one, right? And so there's a pretty large one. Now, when I say everything, meaning if I hold an option out and click on the mask, I can see it does a full selection. So it doesn't add a perfect kind of seagull there. It adds it also adds the information around it. And so, but it is on another layer. So if I were to resize this, it's also resizing that extra information that it gave. See what I mean? So I'd have to do some selection work, and probably would be smarter is if I went in here and just kind of took a nice soft edge brush, and just kind of you paint black and kind of faded out some of that stuff there. Maybe have it blend in a bit better. So that's a really fast, dirty way of doing it. Normally I'd just select it out. Well, there you go. I just wanted him right there. And that looks okay. So let's just say, you know what? I don't like the seagull there, but I'm going to go ahead and flatten everything, because my original thing was just to, discard hidden layer. Sure. Just to add more space to this image. That way there's no issue. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, come back over here. Now I'm going to hit Command T or Control T, and now I have all that extra space here on the right, because I didn't have it before, but now I have even more of it. So even if I wanted to move it over just a little bit, but I like it being centered right there. But before, where I had empty space here, now I have extra room. So that's the cool thing about using that either Generative Fill, or if I go to crop, the new Generative Expand. So when you expand the crop, Photoshop will figure out what the rest of the information looks like. So I can go back in my history here and kind of go through like, hey, this is what it looked like before. There it is with the after information. I didn't like it like this, but I preferred it like this, because I wanted that to be a bit smaller and the image be large enough to be print worthy with this document. Because now when I look at this right here, if I go to image size, I can see now I'm dealing with 12 inches by 10 inches at 300, which is plenty of space for this to fill in the entire background. I think the only thing I'm not liking now is, I can add a quick gradient to this, right? Let me just do this real quick. So let's do linear. Let's go from the top. -90. My design brain's taking over. I don't want white. I want black. So this is a very old school way of doing it. Black to black, right? Black to transparent black. So I can double click on that, and I can move this wherever I want. I'm adding more contrast to the background here. I could do multiply. I could do soft light. Let's go multiply. And then I could just lower that fill until I'm happy. And there you go. So now I can see that title a bit better if I wanted to go that route. Cool. All right. So hopefully let me do hard light. Nope. Soft light. This is my brain now. It's like, does this work or not? There we go. So now I have a nice large image where it wasn't as where it should have been. Generative Expand. And then now, oh, there goes my brain again. What if? Let's go in here. Remember that seagull? There we go. I could do this now, right? Let me add a layer. Generative Fill. Seagulls. How about plural? Let's add a couple of them, but they're really small. So let's see if this works. I just want to bring a little life to the scene, right? Get there. And I'm adding small ones because I want to show scale. So that one, this one, no. That looks pretty good. Let's see. Hey, there you go. That looks pretty good. All right. So just like that. I mean, I'm creating assets on the fly just by typing in information. If I just didn't like this, I could generate new ones, or I can add more information to this if I want to. That's the beauty of this. So there you go. So hopefully you like it and get to creating.